World's greatest radio, Talktainmentradio.com. Talktainment Radio, worldwide sound. Talktainmentradio.com. We give you a reason to come. The world's greatest radio. We give you a reason to stay. Radio, the way it should be heard. You got the power.
The views and opinions expressed are those of the host and guest and not necessarily those of TalktainmentRadio.com, the management, the staff, or K&E World Network, LLC.
Live call-in talk show. Dial 1-877-932-9766 and join the conversation here on TalktainmentRadio.com.
TalktainmentRadio.com. We go where you go, the world's greatest radio. And you're in touch with Wiggins, World of Wellness. And this is radio the way it should be heard. Heard indeed. I want to thank the radio station for allowing all of us to be able to speak our platforms and have the freedom to do so, because it seems like our freedoms seem to be every day a little bit more questioned and taken away, or challenged at least. So with that in mind, I'm going to probably drop some words that hopefully won't censor us or get us, but who knows, better ratings. But hey, we'll start out with the deep state, and it's the deep state versus your health. It's like, what do you mean by that, Stacy? Well, it's a long journey, and the journey, of course, involves a lot of education as to how to understand, how to navigate, and how to promote health. Health individually, health in a community, health throughout the whole world. Because as you look at it today, it seems like health is the most arduous task to attain, if possible, for most of us, and the most elusive. So I'm going to come from my experience, because I am an expert in Stacy Wiggins. That's about as best as I can give it to you, okay? I can dabble in other things, but I can tell you through my experience what I had to negotiate, and once again the journey in life that allowed me to experience a pain-free existence. And I mean not chronic pain, but being vitalistically alive, having things work, not having chronic tension, illness, disease, and what that involves, and give you some tips along the way, because in today's challenging times, these tips are priceless, and they can be priceless to you if you in fact use them, or consider them at least. So, my topic, the deep state versus your health. Who is the deep state? Do we really know? No. But I tell you what, I was just listening to a program about, who was it that they were talking about? Psychopaths. Yes, the psychopathic person, the profile, and it turns out that a high number of corporate head CEOs and people who are leading large companies are either psychopaths or have psychopathic tendencies. And I'm like, well, now that's enlightening. It kind of helps explain why maybe a big company may be more concerned about the bottom line of profits as opposed to concerned about the health of the population, or the health of at least the consumer that is buying it, because you have that downstream effect. If you in fact are making a product that is poisonous to the person that consumes it, but yet it's also poisonous to the environment, how responsible should that company be? But their main concern is the bottom line. So you got to start to balance out your bottom line, and what is that you're going to determine your bottom line is, and the other companies, the other corporations, where am I going to start here? I got notes everywhere, so please be patient with me while I get them all concisely put together. All right, So getting back to corporations, it's them versus us oftentimes. It's the government versus us. It's the corporations versus us. It's, racism. It's always something that is a negative, highly charged, positive, highly charged issue. So when are you easily manipulated? And by what? By who? And when you are easily manipulated, what occurs? So let's break this down, because the deep state has many, many years lead in on the understanding of how to control, quote, us, how to dumbify us into a menial existence and not being spiritually awake, spiritually alive and thriving, and not in need of such, quote, governmental control, because you can control your own self. You have control of your own self. And when that occurs, how many corporations, how many companies, what pharmaceutical industries would benefit when you have control and knowledge of yourself? So that's my who. What industries stand to benefit from the lack of knowledge of ourselves? What industries would profit from our not knowing, our ignorance of ourselves? Okay. Well, government, let's start out with the big one. Government is, what's the definition of government? The act or process of a continuous exercise of authority, okay, over and the performance of functions for the political unit, for the population. And I saw another it was really cute, third or fourth definition. A civilization is, government is the only qualification of civilization, something like that. What it's trying to say is, if you don't have a government, you're not civilized, which is far from the truth. So, continuing with this definition, how far does government go? In our lives today, is government the same than what it was 30 years ago? Is it the same when our founding fathers put government together? No, we are under way more control today. Let's see here. We have the surveillance state. Okay, we're being surveilled by our own very use of cell phones, which is also killing us because of the radio frequencies that we're exposed to. So you got the surveillance state. You got cameras everywhere. And you're pretty much being, now I hear that they're in the grocery stores, that when the camera's looking at and examining your face, it is taking these measurements of your interest in a product or your rejection and just moving on to the product. Information that they'll further, I'm sure, use in advertising to you later. So it's pretty interesting. Surveillance is becoming the biggest industry in the world, because we, under the guise of terrorism, have to know about everybody, everything, and what's going on. So surveillance is a big part of who's out there and who is, quote, controlling us. So our lack of knowledge of self starts with our own inner surveillance. What do you mean by that? No, your own observation of who you are. When your button gets pushed, instead of reacting to the pushed button, you go, wow, why am I charged on that? What that got me all upset, pissed off, or whatever. Man, what's this telling me about me? Before I punch this guy in the face or poke him in the eye or verbally insult them, why am I charged? Okay, so this is reclaiming who we are. And along with the government, so we got government, we got surveillance, and the next one that I've always talked about is the big pharma/medicine industrial complex. There alone, if you were knowledgeable enough to keep yourself healthy, how large would this industry be? It's a profound question, because if you turn the question around or reverse engineer it, what is the largest industry, one of the largest industries that we are currently experiencing and under the guise of today is Big Pharma, the medical industry. And when compared among other countries in this world, It is horrible with the expense that it endures, the amount of toxins that we are using, just all these numbers that are just pathetic. When we think we're number one in the United States, I don't know what we're number one in, but we are clearly not number one in our nation's health. Obesity through the roof. Our tax dollars are going more and more and more to health care, health maintenance, or we should say sick care maintenance, as opposed to well care, wellness. So what has to happen? You have to have a certain amount of control. The government's controlling. You got a educational system. So we're going government, surveillance, medicine. Now the education system, which was financed by who? The big pharma industry. So the educational system is also corrupt, to say it lightly. It's not designed to empower you with information about who you are. And simply put, the more you know about you, the more you have access to all knowledge on this planet. But until you even begin to understand who you are, your blinders are on and they're shut pretty tight. So government surveillance, after big pharma, because, well, you got to take care of all those vaccinations. You got to start out children very young. You have to poison them so they become more docile. They become right into the medical system. So you got this entrance into life, commitment to medical system, riding it all the way through, and then death. Where's life? Where's passion? Where's energy? Where's love? It's born, then survive through poor health and die. That's crazy. So let's see here. Vaccinations, population control, and all-out war. The United States has been in war, I think, out of the amount of time that we have been as a nation, it's 6 years, no more than 30 years of our full time as a nation have we been in a peaceful state. So we are geared towards war. If you look at commercials, we're geared towards war. There's a war against this, a war against that. So it's our war mentality that we're dealing with. Excuse me for a second, a little dryness. Okay, another industry that is heavily invested in our own demise, or heavily invested in our own lack of self-awareness, would be, and it's married into the pharmaceutical industry, but it's the petro industry. The petroleum industry is one that is, wow, it's in every aspect of our lives. It's in the industrial part, of course. You gotta move machines and power machines, but it's also in our plastics, it's in our computers, it's in our agriculture. Yeah, petroleum products are in our agriculture, so that means it's in our food. But what the point I was trying to make is petroleum is also synonymous to the drug companies, because any medication is going to have some part of a distillant or petroleum aspect to the medication. So that's pretty wild to think that petroleum is inserted into our lives so much. It's on a daily basis. You're drinking from a plastic bottle, which I just had there. You're driving your car, you're on a train, your transportation usually involves petroleum. And these things are killing us. The use of it, the overuse of it, I should say. Okay. So we want to call these people the big state or the deep state. Yeah, feel free to. But it's ourselves using these products that have put us into this deep stupor. We can call it a deep state of stupor, would be much more appropriate. So let's transition here. We got the deep state. We've gotten to okay, yeah. The deep state is playing us. Who is being played is us, the people. And why are we being played? How are we being played? Well, let's go back to the manipulation part. Who's manipulating? The government, the industries. I forgot to put in the huge industry of telecommunications. Oh my goodness. That plays the largest part. We are part of telecommunications this very moment. But to sit down in front of a TV and continuously be bombarded with certain ads and certain campaigns to make you believe certain ways. So when you look all around, the air that we breathe, polluted, the water that we drink, polluted, the food that we eat, bastardized, it's polluted. Our very existence is challenging, to say the least. Yet, that's the exact time, it's the exact place where evolution occurs. We'll get to this in a minute. But we need to have a deeper study and understanding of where we are and maybe who's doing what to us in order for us to know that we have to have a gangster attitude of getting out of it. Because going to a weekend seminar, ain't going to cut it. Buying a supplement that's going to help your bowels move or bring your power up more or whatever, that ain't going to cut it. Moving out to the country, it's not going to cut it. So it's an all-out effort for you to understand and realize the bombardment, the impact that these corporations have had in your life that has caused you to believe the things you believe, that what you currently have, your belief system that you're maintaining. One of the biggest ways that you can disconnect a person from their knowing is to disconnect the person from their heritage, from their land. So when you do not know who you are, and when you do not know where you came from, the tribe, the people, the culture that you lived under, the years and the lifetimes, actually, when you do not have a sense of who you are, it's next to impossible to navigate where you need to get to recognize, that's a landmine, or that's a path maybe I should take. It looks promising, it's got, an educational experience, whereas this path looks like it's premature death, or it is a educational experience on how to die quickly. Our heritage teaches us these things. Our heritage instills in us the importance of our own life, the importance of life, and the importance of living life in a harmonious way, in a way that you are not damaging other cultures, other civilizations, other animals and plants. Our heritage has in the past provided us a relationship to the stars, to the plants that grow in the woods, in the forest, or in the prairies. These relationships have been taken away from us. So we are lost through not knowing our heritage, through not knowing, basically what to eat. We are bombarded with it. Overwhelming information on you should eat this, you should eat that, you should eat this, and you should eat that. Well, wouldn't it make good sense that by the time you're a teenager, that you've figured out, you've been educated, you understand what your body requires in order to be optimally well, to be fed and nurtured at a basic sense? Because if you plan on living 40 years, 50 years, 60, 120 years, in that living, you must know and have in your DNA an understanding of how to eat, of how to properly live, and not struggle from one disease, one drama to the next. So the lost cultures, it's lost civilizations, we have been uprooted. So we're like a tree trying to stand up in the winds, but our root system has been taken away, so it's easily going to fall and break. Without your root system, without your foundation, it is impossible to structure, to grow anything that's going to stand up and withstand the stresses of life. So the stresses of life are either going to be a part of your destruction, or it's going to be a part of your evolution. And like I said, evolution is going to come here in a second. Here's another thing. We talked about all of these corporations, all the companies that are in your head, that are in the radio, that are in the TV, that are advertising to get your consumption, to get your attention of them. When are you in control of your own mind? Whose mind are you using? If you think you're getting old and you say, oh, I'm getting old in your 40s, or oh man, I'm getting old and you're 55, or even if you say, oh man, I must be getting old, my shoulder's really killing me, and you're 65 or 70, no, you're really not getting old. Absolutely, you're not getting old. You've gotten more toxic, you've gotten more tight, you've shut your body down, you prematurely aged, but those are signs and symptoms of lack of function, and we equate that to getting old. And it's, yes, it's true, but no, it's just a sign and symptom, because there are clearly 40, 50, 60, 75-year-old people who do not have, yes, they're out there, that do not have this chronic pain or their chronic tightness, and they can get up out of a chair, they can go to the movie theater, see a 2.5-hour movie, and at the end of the movie get up and leave without pulling a hamstring. They aren't old in their mind because they're not old in their body. So old age is a belief system, and we all have bought into it. We bought into it hook, line, and sinker. So where does your belief system start? Where is it that you believe something as opposed to when and what you've been taught to believe? All right, now this gets us into another category, a sidestep at best, which is, let me get the papers out on this. Boom, 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 boom. Okay. How do I get my own attention? What? What do you mean? What are some of the things that we do to get our own attention? Now, here's some good examples. Because we're usually on autopilot all the time and doing our day, doing our work, watching TV, doing whatever, and we're not thinking. Now, those that meditate, people who meditate, they may be answering this question: how do I get my own attention? Well, I get it through meditation, or I get it through when I calm my mind and I sit down and do a certain ritual. But for the most of us, I am willing to bet, and as a matter of fact, I've been a part of it, and I see it daily, that when we get our own attention, what is it that occurs? What is it we usually do to get our own attention? Any answers? Yeah? No? It's usually an injury. It's usually a sickness, or it's some type of accident that, boom, injures us, makes us slow down. Ooh, put some ice on that. Oh man, this hurts, or it's broken. I gotta go to the hospital. And while you're up in the hospital, while you got that cold ice bag on your leg, ankle, arm, whatever that you may have broken or twisted, your brain is slowing down. Your brain is starting to go into self-analysis mode because you are still. I know you're worried about this and worried about that, but generally, once you slow down after an injury, you start to get your own attention. Does that make sense? Sometimes we have to hurt ourselves to get our own attention, and it seems like that quite often. And that may be where drama comes in too. We got to have a little drama in our lives. And then the other question that you have to ask yourself after you get this question, the first one, how do I get my own attention? Now you got to ask an even deeper question. What do I get from the reaction of others? So when I'm in a room and the attention that I get from them, what do I get from it? What am I looking for? All right. Am I consciously creating this zapping energy from others? You know how some people come into a room and they take the living breath and they air out of the room? It's like, oh man, here comes Dave, the dark cloud guy, or somebody who we call DC, dark cloud. When they come in, it's just like, all the life went out of the room, and it's like, okay, I got to get up and go, or go use the bathroom. You know, you have this urge to want to exit the room. People have that type of energy, and we, in response, have various types of needs of energy. So when we are looking for other people's energies, we need to ask ourselves, what's up? Why? What do I need? What am I looking to fill up in myself that I think is missing? All right? Deeper questions. When you injure yourself, when you start to slow down, maybe you can start to tap into some of these self-opening and analyzing, but more self-opening questions, because there's not a wrong answer. Just get to an answer, you know, find out, discover who you are. And so let's say dramas. Oh, how do I adapt to stress? But before I even adapt to stress, how do I respond to stress? Because we all adapt, and the adaptation process is well, it can be beneficial, or we can get used to a pain and continually to adapt and compensate, and that becomes, of course, a big problem. So adaptation, response to stress. How do you respond? Now, I'm going off into a little bit of a, like I said, taking a left turn, because in order for you to get control of yourself and get out of the control of all these companies and governments and things like that, you need to begin to breathe in deeper, but ask yourself these questions. By asking these questions, you become more aware of yourself, and most importantly, becoming aware of yourself makes you more attuned, more awake, aware of what's going on outside of you. Okay, so we're the ones that have been played, and this is how we wake up from being played. We ask ourselves these questions. We check in. That's what I call checking in. Some people call it meditation. Some people say, you know, I meditate with candles in the room and I have to have everything situated. Nah, meditation is your rules. When do you meditate? You make the rules. It's available for you. Very, very immediate. Okay, so self-adaptation, self-distractions, and the stress of being distracted. Now, more than ever today, we have distractions that are our phone, the email, text. You got to check your Facebook account or tweet and twit or whatever. It's an amazing time in our lives to be so overwhelmed with information, but most of the information is it's superfluous. It's crap at best, but more than what you need. And as you become more attuned to yourself, the information overwhelm it becomes a little more easier to bear. Or two, you turn it off, you go take a walk in the woods, and you get another type of informational field feedback. Because you and all of us, we all have been overly technical, zapped with all the things that are around us now. And we need to reconnect. And part of the easiest way to reconnect is nature, breathing. Okay. Ooh, my stomach was cranking it up too. All right, so these programs that were uploaded in our minds were programs that were to keep us from knowing ourselves, to understand who we are, how we function, and to thus better navigate life and to be a whole person, to be not just a part of a person. And that's the other aspect of our life and our culture, is we have a word that I like to use. It's a long, long word. Compartmentalization. Compartmentalization. In other words, medical system. Perfect example. If you have a problem on your skin, we'll get to this on the other half, because compartmentalization is a huge part of our understanding to deconstructing the deep state. And that's what we want to do, so we can reconstruct our own lives as you deconstruct the deep state. Here at Talktainment Radio. Talktainmentradio.com. We go where you go. Download Talktainmentradio.com app to your cell or tablet. That's radio the way it should be here. This is Stacey Wiggins and Wiggins World of Wellness.